Joining me now is California Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu. He was chosen as one of the impeachment managers for the case before the Senate. Congressman, it's good to have you on. Thank you for doing this. So let me just start with, when should this trial begin?
Thank you, Chuck, for your question. Chuck, it should begin as soon as possible. The House, on a bipartisan basis, voted out the article of impeachment, incitement to insurrection. There's nothing stopping the Senate from convening, for example, this Monday to hear the trial. And so we continue to urge the Senate to have the trial as soon as possible.
We all went through the last impeachment, and so everybody's an impeachment expert based on what they saw in the last impeachment, right? So we saw the committee hearings, which were used to create the evidence that was used to present by your predecessors as impeachment managers to that jury of United States senators basically a year ago this month. What is the evidence that you plan to introduce? I mean, one of the things, for instance, in my head is, do you have somebody right now piecing together every piece of video of this insurrection that perhaps the senators themselves did not see? And is that something those senators will see?
I can't say this any better than what the number 3 House Republican Liz Cheney said. She said that Donald Trump summoned this mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. And it's all on videotape. We don't have to call in Donald Trump as a witness and say, hey, did you give that speech? We know he gave that speech. Everyone can see it now, read the transcript, see what he said. We know that there was this violent attack on the Capitol by domestic terrorists, that they killed a police officer, that based on new reporting today, they were 90 feet away from Vice President Pence, who was hiding with his family. They were chanting, hang Pence. Imagine if they got their murderers' hands on Vice President Pence and his family, what would have happened? We don't have to have a evidentiary investigation, because this is all captured on videotape for the American people to see.
So I guess what you're saying is that is one of the plans. You're gonna make sure the senators see it all that perhaps they didn't see, since they had been basically quickly taken away.
Well, so first of all, the senators have already seen a lot of this because they experienced it. Some of these senators knew that they were at potential threat of harm. And based on new reporting, we know that some of these domestic terrorists were trying to assassinate elected officials. They were hunting for senators and representatives and Vice President Pence. And what we also know is that Donald Trump incited these domestic terrorists to do this attack, not because people were unhappy with the corporate tax rate. They were doing this because Congress was going to formalize Donald Trump's defeat and Joe Biden's win. And Donald Trump was trying to stop that.
How much of the Georgia, it's interesting, if this, my guess is if we had 6 months to go, what he did with Georgia, you could probably create another article, if you will, essentially a second indictment of another crime, or another high crime or misdemeanor. How much do you believe Georgia should, in your view, be a part of your case to those Senate jurors?
That's a great question. The article itself does reference his phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State, where he told him to find 11,780 votes, basically to overturn the election. And this goes to the whole point of why Washington, D.C. looks like an armed fortress right now. It's because Donald Trump, for over 2 months, spread the big lie that the election was stolen. And his violent supporters, the violent part of the base, believes the election was stolen, and that's why they're so rage-filled. They believe Donald Trump is a legitimate president and Joe Biden is illegitimate. If Donald Trump simply says one sentence, the election was not stolen, he could calm down all these tensions. By refusing to do so, he's continuing to inflame the violent part of his base.
So in your view, Georgia is a part of this, but the focal point is the insurrection?
So the insurrection that occurred on January 6th, all of us saw and some of us experienced, but it didn't occur in a vacuum. He called the mob on January 6th, but predating that, for over 2 months, he was telling the mob that the election was stolen and that they had to come on January 6th to rectify that. They had to show strength. They couldn't show weakness. They had to take their country back. They had to fight like hell.
Right.
So this is all going to be in context when the senators see this. And the senators already know this because for 2 months we all experienced Donald Trump's lies.
Congressman, was there any thought given to including one of the 10 Republicans who voted to impeach as a manager, to have a Republican as one of the impeachment managers?
Yeah, that's beyond my pay grade, so I don't know how to answer that, John.
I hear you. I take it if one was added, you would accept it?
Yes, absolutely, I would. This was the most bipartisan impeachment in U.S. history, and we also expect that we're going to have a bipartisan amount of senators who will take their votes after the trial is concluded.
Right. Well, as you make note, that was not your decision about who to make the impeachment managers. I always joke, everybody has a boss. Not everybody, no matter what, on various topics at various times. Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat from California, thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective with us, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
You got it. Up ahead, the growing concern in state capitals across the country that they too could